Okay, guys, it's been, I guess we're just trying to figure that out right now. Hey, everybody.
Yeah.
We're here with the founders of Lila. My name is Paul Layden. I'm the CCO. Got Joseph Kim, the CEO. Avinash Pandey, the CTO. Last time we spoke was about 2 years ago on this topic.
Yeah, been long.
I think about 2 years. And
November 2020.
Yeah.
why did we start the company? I think some people saw it. It's a long video, so videos have changed. I don't suspect anyone watching this have seen that, but maybe some of you. And now here we are. We're trying to talk about what's happened since then, you know. And I was trying to think about this one before we came into this, and I was like, gosh, this is so much. It's been 2 years, 2 rounds. Actually, no, seed round and then Series A.
Right.
And the first thing I wrote was, my life has changed dramatically since then. You know, we're in Bangalore. You moved from Pune.
Yeah.
How is it?
Yeah, new city. I mean, I have been Pune for 13 years, and I always thought like Pune is the best city in India, because once you live in a place, you get familiar to that one, and you're like, okay, if I have to imagine my life in this place, you can imagine because you have been there. So Bangalore was always new for me. I had always heard that Bangalore is good for entrepreneurs, lots of companies and all. Once I moved here, then actually all those things became true. So I could not have chosen any other city for our company than Bangalore in India.
Really?
So I think one of the best decisions we took was to move to Bangalore.
The spacing is a lot better. I know when we were in
Yeah.
Pune checking things out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, of course, I don't know India, and just being here in Bangalore is like pretty much brand new for me. But getting around in like cabs and rickshaw and everything, I could say that the geography of this place compared to Pune is a lot more tighter, faster, and I like the companies that are around. It was really cool to have John as our guest speaker on Saturday. So I could say that I'm really happy we chose Bangalore, even though when we came here, I was like, I guess Bangalore is the best place to be. Why? Because of engineers, I guess?
No, it was.
What was it?
One was the availability of talent.
Sure.
The other one was it's just everybody's here.
Yeah, and I think that's the most important thing. It's just the network that we have, being able to talk to people. And I mean, even now we have challenges with talent recruitment. So if we were anywhere else, we'd be even more trouble.
Really?
Yeah.
Someone was telling me today, they're like, hey, we're really looking for good designers, man. It's hard to find a good designer.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know. So even if I had a really good designer right now, like someone who is really seasoned on this particular project, they would still have to like figure out what we can do with where we are, know the engineering team, make the spec that's specific for getting started in like a week.
Yeah.
And like it would take all that ramping up. And I was like, I think what we got is actually good enough, this, we are where we are. I think Bangalore and whatever's here, like we don't have, who else has built shooter games in this place? Right? How many shooter games have come out of India?
I mean, not many.
Not many.
Not many. Like
Not many.
I would know.
Well, there's a couple of new shooter games that are coming out. So hopefully they do well. But the Mayhem from
Nice.
DL Studio.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's
We
right.
got Indus from your old studio.
Indus. That's right.
But in terms of just keeping people up to date in terms of what's happened with us, we moved to Bangalore. We're in office, went from remote to working in office. At least for me, that was like a huge change. That was, I thought one of the big problems when we came in office was just like the culture. I felt it was not where it needed to be. And at least for me, I felt we needed to put a lot of effort into that just to get people on the same page, to not only communicate our values and our culture, but to really get it installed in a proper way. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, I feel there are positives, but it's very challenging.
Yeah.
Like, coming to office is one thing, and then even now we are seeing so many challenges, right? Pushing on timing, culture, discipline. Because if you are remote lane, then discipline is just okay. You are on time on meetings. But being in office and having discipline is very hard, especially after everybody coming from remote. People were used to just working from home in their own space. So those challenges definitely we are seeing. But I mean, the game we are building, I would also not imagine like being able to build that game in remote setup. Like,
No way. Some of the team on the design team were like, they were discouraged because the build wasn't moving like how we'd want it to. And I know design's kind of in some trouble now. We're trying to catch up on a lot of things. But during the Zoom call era, we felt like we were just looking at the same build forever.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we came in here, we started to say things in our little pod, like, it finally feels like we're moving. It feels like we just started working on the game.
Mm-hmm.
And to some degree, they were right. You know, like, at least as a team, you know, and they were asking me questions too. Like, when I first met him, we were working out of the hotel. And
Zara?
yeah, we were working out of that hotel, and they were pulling me aside, like, how much should I work? Like, how long does it, like, what's it like? Some of them don't even know. Well, they wanted to gauge what my career was like to find success. And because this was like a startup and stuff like that. And so, you know, I don't know what was out there. There's just a lot of confusion, and not just about culture, but in general, what it would take to pull this off. Like, in your opinion, they were asking me as their lead, like, how much do you think this is going to take, you know? And my response then, my response now is everything we got. You know, like that thing that I said in the last video, like when we were talking about why we started this company, I remember I said, I want to make a product that pulls up in the market. Like, yeah, what's up? You know, you're not alone. Like, I don't care how big your company is, how talented your people are, you're not safe. You know what I'm saying? With, you know, my passion around here, I'm going to take a piece of the pie. And, sheesh, you know, to be able to do that is so hard, And so, yeah, it's still the same thing as it was back then. I tell them it's going to take a lot of work, and it's the shock. I think it's a little bit of a shock, especially, you know, people trying to consider their ideas of their weekends, their free times, their, you know, what their parents think, or, you know, what they had an arrangement, and they're like, my fantasy was to make a massive product. I signed up to do it, and now I'm on this journey. And I'm like, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's like, welcome aboard. And if you can't do it, you know, it's going to be tough, you know?
I think one of the biggest challenges which we were asked recently is, individually you guys have track record, like, you know, of building games. But as a team, we have not shipped anything together.
That's
Even
right.
between, you know, us, we have not shipped anything together. And that is a real challenge.
Yeah.
So, you know, doing that in remote brings more challenges.
Yeah.
So-
People underestimate the new team challenge.
Yes.
Yeah, you were telling me it takes 4 years.
Well, yes. Like when I was in publishing, that is the thing that I noticed the most. The teams that worked a lot, like stayed in the office till 10 o'clock, worked weekends, and who were together for 4 years, because usually that's like, you just look at the number of improvements we've made over the last couple of years, right?
Sure.
And even then it's been super slow. So the teams that have figured it out and know how to gel, they're just dramatically more efficient. So I think we're getting there, but we still have a ways to go.
Still seeing lots of frictions.
Yeah.
Seeing lots of frictions. Like, we do want our team to believe that we are one team, like one company, one team. But still, you would feel there are you need work to make, you know, different teams work. Even when inside team there are different people.
Yeah, I think there's always going to be those problems that I can pretty confidently say, just because I'm the old guy and I've worked with so many companies, that we're in the top, in my opinion, in terms of like how clean our culture is, and how we've been, like, the amount of gossip, rumoring, like people hating on each other at other companies is just disgusting.
Yeah, I don't think that, like, to some extent we are able to completely eliminate it. So it's just being able to work with each other in the most productive way. That's what the experience means. Like, if everybody starts believing that, hey, we have to ship this game and everybody needs to move in the same direction to ship this game, that comes with experience working together. Like, individually people have shipped games before, but as a team.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we're fully out of the woods, but I think we're definitely better than most. And Paul had mentioned, in terms of the build and moving faster, like from an engineering perspective, Avinash, what are your thoughts in terms of the engineering team from when we started to where we are today? Where are we at, and what kind of evolution has the engineering team made?
So, I mean, if I start from first year, so we did move very slow in terms of hiring. And one thing we were aware of from start is that shooters are very complicated to make. And it will be very hard to find people who have experience in shooter. So it's always going to be, okay, learn, do things, and then see whether that thing is done properly. Then, you know, there will be iterations. And we could not afford too many mistakes. So that's why we tried to find people, okay, if you don't have experience of building these kind of games, then your logic and aptitude and fundamental understanding should be good. So I still remember, like, for first year we were only 3 engineers. Like, some people come and go, but on average it was 3. But now this year actually we made good progress. So we are 8, and now actually we are in a situation where we are not hiring more developers. So I think we did good this year in terms of hiring. And in India, I cannot be more prouder than our team. Like, I think in terms of engineering, we have got really good guys. Some of them have good track records, some of them are new, but the passion they have for game development and just constant desire to do things in the better way, that's really powerful. So I mean, we are still, I would not say, in a situation where we can say we'll figure out everything in one go, but at least we are able to move fast and just allow ourselves to reiterate and improve things later on. And that's the way. Like, if you don't have experience of building shooters, how fast can you move, how fast can you iterate to make things better?
And Paula, how do you characterize design team and like the evolution that design team has made?
It's kind of tough because the first person I hired has now moved on to Garena Free Fire, and getting on a Zoom call with that person and working with him to like 4 a.m. and like training him everything I know, and then meeting other people and training him super late at night, all those Zoom calls. I finally met one of them like this month. I never met him before, the level designer. And it's because it took him a while to get to Bangalore. And so, my team is like, it's a group of people whom I've trained more in Zoom, in as far as like how many times I've seen their faces, and I've seen them rapidly over the last like 3, 4, 5 months or something like that in person. And so I've gotten to know them, for the first time. And I've gotten to, learn about their lives. And I would say they are believers in the product. They questioned my style of game design a lot in the beginning. And when they tried to adapt some of the styles, they didn't want to. So like they were like making documents that weren't exactly like how I like to do them. And then they would see those documents sort of lack a little bit of something that I find special. So now they're making documents in styles that I have tried to pitch and develop for a long time. And so they've adopted my styles. They've, surpassed them in some ways. Their writing is better than mine in some ways. And sometimes their mock-ups are better than mine in some ways. So some of them I'm really proud of. Okay. And I'd say the design team is... the evolution since then and now is there is a larger amount of belief in the stuff that I know. Like, hey, I talk about so many details in the document. We do such a good job at breaking down edge cases in advance to save the company money through the process of building it. Yeah. That I think they get it. When before over Zoom, I just sound like a crazy man. I'd be like, we're going to break down this feature, and they'd show me something. I'd say, like, this won't even ever get made properly. It's missing this detail, this pop-up, this edge case, these things, the press state, like the button press state, all this stuff. Like, we design everything, and I felt like I got a lot of potentially eye rolls or like, oh, God, are you serious? But now people are like, if we don't do all this stuff, we're screwed, right? And now people are like, make the documents faster. And my team's like, no, trust me, it's so much better if we get it all right now. There's all this like debate on should we do it the way that I've described it as right, or should we find a faster way? And there's like it's really interesting time for the design team. I would say we are. I'm going to research this, but I'm going to go around. I'm going to be visiting studios in India and learning. But I would say we are probably one of the best design teams in India for sure. For sure, we are very fast, very thorough, in sync, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. I'm very happy about that. Super happy.
Okay.
What do you think about product team, JK?
I'm pretty happy. Like it took a while, right? And I think we have 3 product managers. Couple guys I think are contributing fairly significantly, and I would say they're definitely on a path to become some of the best product managers I've worked with. And then the third product manager is more junior, been a little bit slower for him, but now he's starting to pick up very rapidly. especially over the last month. So I think that the future for these guys is very bright. They're going to be able to work anywhere, if not here. So I think that's been good.
Yeah. One interesting thing I found about product is you train most of them. So
Yeah.
we didn't find any product manager out of the box.
Right.
Like, oh,
Yeah.
you fit this job, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, but I would also say that I have kind of, and I wouldn't say unique, but I do kind of have a philosophy with product management that may be a little bit different. So, but I think hopefully these guys will, be better because of it.
I'm sure they will. I mean, right off the bat, when I was seeing the office get built, because that's another thing. This office, right?
Yeah.
It didn't just come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
We searched.
You did a good job designing
We
it.
searched for a lot of offices, man. We chose all the things
Yeah.
out, and next thing you know, I'm walking around, looking at people's desks. We have these really nice white, for the viewers there. We have these really nice white electric desks, and it's a pretty comfortable space to get your work done. And I see the book Essential Scrum on their desk,
Yeah.
and it's a book that you recommended
Yeah.
maybe 3-4 years ago, and it's this green back, has shades of green. It says Essential Scrum. I think I bought it once, and I was like, hell no, Jesus, this thing's huge. It's a pretty big one. And so they were taking on your material and stuff, and I could see you're influenced in not only product but literature, thinking, habits, demeanor, lifestyle, stuff like that, which is probably stuff not even in a book like Essential Scrum, really. I mean, there's Essential Scrum, and then there's the chaos of now, right? Keeping everyone on track. It's just not. There's no page for that in a book, right?
I think the other thing that's happened is you and I have been flying back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how that's been impacting your personal life.
Yeah. Well, I'm personally, well, yeah, the game, my career in the industry has been pretty sacrificial in that side.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of relationships start and end at the mercy of the industry or my inability to keep those things together. So, late nights and working on a game is whack, to be honest, when it comes to family and relationships. I was dating a girl, we were working on Game of War, and I was working on that shit forever. And I'd show it to her, and she'd be like, "Oh, that's weird. Oh, cool." And I'd be like, "I don't know." So you can't even understand it. It's like, what are you doing all day? What is this? What are you doing? So working on games is like that, and so I surrendered to that. So, but yeah, I have found some things that are nice, and I'm happy. But I'm also aware of how taxing this is for sure, and so I'm not counting on anything that I find special to stick around, and but it hasn't been abnormally shocking. This is how it was, right? Fun Plus, it was like this. Even work, you can work 30 minutes away from home in the startup, and miss out on all kinds of shit. It's just so much. But yeah, so far so good. I have to surrender because I wanted this so bad that I kind of have to realize that a lot of things might go, and so if those things go, then they go. Right. You know what I'm saying? If they go, then they go. I'm gonna put my staff down, and if the wind is blowing, if whoever hangs on, because I can't stop this anymore. There's a couple times when I was in India riding on the back of a motorcycle with Ryan or whatever, trying to find an office, and I was like, fuck, man, what the hell's going on? He's like, alleyway and stuff, and I was on the back, and I was like, I can't stop Lila anymore. That was a thought that I had on the back of his motorcycle. I was like, I can't stop it. The only way that this stops is if someone stops me. It's really taken over, and it would function without me. With or without me, it would move. So yeah, personal life it's just gonna have to be what it is. I'm trying to make it work. Yeah, FaceTimes, letters. I just found a FedEx place nearby. Yeah. And so I've been thinking about writing letters and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought that might be a fun way to spruce it up. How about you guys? How's life and personal life?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a huge sacrifice. I mean, being away from family so long. Mm-hmm. I think the biggest guilt that I was carrying was really around my kids. My two oldest sons, I was able, I would teach them stuff after school, and they
You're a
get
wonderful teacher. Too.
dramatically ahead. And
Yeah.
now I haven't had time to, teach them anything or things like that. But I would say that I actually watched this Netflix show. My Next Guest Needs No Introduction with David Letterman, and he interviewed Jay-Z.
Mm.
And then Jay-Z was talking about how he never knew his father.
Mm.
And I was like, Jay-Z can do it. I guess my kids will be fine.
That's crazy.
That's optimistic.
That's very optimistic. Yeah. Well, if your kids watch this video in the future, I'm really happy JK has taken the sacrifice for all the people here. And you know what? There's things. This is a 0 to 1 company.
Yeah.
We don't know how things are going to be.
Yeah.
I could see a Seattle office.
Sure.
Right? I could see schools. I don't know. I could see us all in Seattle. Fuck it. Come on, Evanos, let's go. You know what I'm saying? We can all have our kids. Or we could all have kids that go to the same school. For all I know, how the damn future goes, right?
Yeah.
And so, let's keep our eyes on the goal and just foot on the gas and just try to keep hammering, because we got a huge shooter game to build. I mean, we got a lot of stuff done though.
Actually, this brings me to a thought that when we started the company, we didn't know the complexity of this game.
Yeah,
Like
man.
we
Hell
started,
no.
we were like,
You
okay,
guys remember? Geeky was like,
Yeah.
you guys are going to need $10 million to make this game. We're like,
yeah,
We're not gonna need
it's
10
like
million.
3 million. Like we like in our initial roadmap, I remember we had money to do some marketing also in 3 million after launching the game.
Oh, we had
we had some money to do
for
marketing.
marketing at $2 million.
So like,
yeah, but,
imagine.
but it's kind of good to be naive to some
Yeah.
degree.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
for the viewers, what is it, JK, that we're at right now? We did seed series, and we got Series A at.
So we raised an additional $10 million. So
Addition-
now we've raised like almost 13, I guess.
Almost 13.
Or
And the
maybe
game
over
is
13,
it's
whatever.
not only complex, there's features about it that are going to be kind of weird. And I do worry about those things a little bit. I was writing those things down, like, because of the nature of our game, because we can't be the same, and because we're constantly pushing ourselves as founders and like conversations with you and and Joseph, some of the ideas sound like they fit. They do fit the game. They're not so strange that I was like, what are you guys doing? It's almost like how this oddly fits, but it's odd still.
Yeah.
And so there's things about our game that are kind of odd. It's not only complex. There's going to be if the features that I am talking about make it, it's going to be one of the most I don't know. It's going to be a very interestingly received shooter game experience.
The amazing thing about shooter games is you have to do good job in every aspect of game development. So in some games, like if you're building a 2D game, you might be okay with animation's not that complicated or not that
like a
intense.
skill tree.
Yeah,
tap
here
it,
you have to do very good job in animation,
Sure.
very good job in art, very good job in character. Like every aspect of game development which you can imagine, you have to do a good job.
And,
So it's
even within each feature.
Each feature.
With each feature, there's so much you can do.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I was telling the team, in a shooter game, it's hard to design something that's done. Like, it's done. So, is vaulting done? You jump over a wall. Is it done? When is it done? Like, okay, the legs go over the wall, the camera moves, does it have a little shake at the end of it? Like, because you can't spend money on everything like that.
Yes.
And so if you say, okay, there's jumping off a building, and then your character hits a fall animation, and then it lands on the ground, and it does a landing animation, and then it goes, ah! What else do you need? Blood effects, right? You need health bar down, you know what I'm saying? A potential death animation, a zoom out, kill camera, you died from a fall damage. Maybe some message, Paul died to his teammates. Paul died from fall damage to the squad mates. Like, you can make that version cheaper or more expensive in many different areas of just that descent. You know what I'm saying? You can decide that the landing is more expensive than the fall animation. Yes. You can decide that the blood overlay and that experience of the kill cam is the more expensive part than this. And so it's the documentation on how to design something within budget and try not to get crazy every single feature is that's challenging in and of itself. And
the other challenge is like just finding right people to do those things. Like you have to find people,
Yeah, well, I would say like part of the reason why we needed to raise more money was, quite honestly, like finding the right talent and getting everybody trained and to where they need to be was just a lot tougher than we thought.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
It's just-
and I think we have also not set the bar in terms of quality. Like we are
We'd have
aiming
not.
for very high quality. Like we could decide what we want to be, because right now shooter is one of the categories which is just growing in the quality. Like
Wait.
every year you see a shooter game, the quality bar they push is like really high.
Well, wait. Actually, I can remind you of a time where we tried. But we can revisit it though.
Okay.
I was talking about like looting.
Uh-huh. Oh yeah.
And I said, what kind of game are we?
Yeah.
This is a while ago, but it was very unofficial on a Zoom call. We could do it again as a bigger company now that we're all together.
Yeah.
But there's two types. There's like there's a variety of type of looting animations.
Mm-hmm.
This is when your character picks up something. You could be 10 feet away and your character goes, bows, and that big object disappears. Or you could be, just a little bit away and your character actually reaches out, lunge, and the thing goes in the hand, and then it reaches behind the bag and kind of puts it into the backpack area or whatever, and it disappears from the hand. And there's like reach up, reach sideways, reach down, or whatever. And I said, what kind of company are we going to be? And all this affects TTK and speed and all that shit. And at the time, we were like, we want to try to be like high quality, right? And so trying to figure out how to do that. So who knows what we'll launch with?
Yeah.
And that's what I said. Every feature can have a different level of quality.
Yes.
And there's so many different features. How do you decide what is high, what is low? It's so complex. But I'm operating on the idea that we're going to be as good. Well, I think, like, if you think about like player animations, if we could have it to where we are like Call of Duty Mobile, I'd be so excited if we had that kind of movement, even to the point where players are running different stances, like on stances. Like when a character spins, sometimes their feet just slide. But if you really have a high quality game, they'll swivel their hips and like jimmy their feet. That's like third tier, you know what I'm saying? Like animation. Like how do we get to that third tier? And so I'm thinking that we might get 2, 1 with some 3 if we're really lucky. You know what I'm saying? Those hip swivels, those like, but we'd have to work really hard for the 3. We'd have to be like, where are the 3s in this game? Like, is it going to be the gun animations? Is it going to be like the death cameras? Like, where are the 3s? And, with some time, we can identify some really key points and make sure those are super good. But right now, we're probably like 1 to 2.
Okay.
1 to 2, yeah, which isn't bad.
I mean, it's different. I think one topic we should definitely talk about is it's been like almost going to be 2 years. Like, do you guys think about like any mistakes we did which we could have done differently? If you can think of.
Well, yeah. Go ahead, JK.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the hiring we could have done better. Putting a greater emphasis on recruiting earlier, and not trying to automate so much of it, which really fucked us. So, yeah.
Automate how? Like, explain to me. And
well, I mean,
how did you automate us?
So, I mean, it's a very competitive market here, but the way that we were trying to do recruiting is just having automated emails, automated reach outs, and lacking like the initial contact with recruits, calling them, talking to them about the company before we say, hey, take this test. And we have very involved tests, and so getting like the right candidates who would be willing to take the test, getting them excited about the company, is something where we kind of messed up. And so it's not, I don't think it's by accident that a lot of the people who actually did invest in taking the test and coming here were people who were familiar with us or like some of the content that we put out. But for the people who didn't know who we are, it was, definitely, we should have done a better job in terms of reaching out to them, pitching them on the company, and making sure that they knew more about us before we asked them to take a test or had some of these automated processes that we relied on too much.
I didn't know we were automated for that long.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're not now.
Yeah, I remember you.
Well, the direct reach outs.
Yeah, your direct reach
So
out
I
that
do
you
that.
built, like.
but
huge part of the company just by yourself before anyone came to help.
So that stuff worked, and then we did
Sure.
get a lot of our recruits that way as well.
Nice.
But it was tough, and now we're going to be hiring a really fully dedicated recruiter who hopefully will be an expert in terms of pitching and being more, very, very hands-on with new recruits.
Mm.
I mean, if the biggest mistakes I can think about is just we could have sequenced our hiring or team building in a better way. So like right now, one thing I feel is we know that we are behind in art, animations, and our build could have looked a lot better. So we have done lots of features. In terms of features, like if we just put good art and animation, we have a working battle royale game right now. Like just bug fixing, polishing, that's it. But we are just behind in art because we didn't have art team, right? And then finding an art director had been very difficult. Same way there are other roles like label designer and all. So I do feel we should have prioritized some of these roles from a little bit earlier than what we did later on.
Yeah.
Like
I'll say this: there's probably like 1,000 small mistakes that I'm not talking about just because they're too in the weeds. But I would say that for our situation and who we are, and kind of working together for the first time and working with a lot of people who've never worked on shooters before, I think the one big decision that we made, which is to build in India, allowed us to make those 1,000 small mistakes. Like imagine trying to do this in California.
Yes.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, I was just thinking.
we would have been out of business.
I was just thinking about this, and I'll think about it more. So don't hold me to this like as a quote or anything, but I think free to play is kind of like one big mistake the whole way through. I don't feel like anything on the design side. Like I don't think about our mistakes like mistakes sometimes, and maybe I'm overly optimistic or just not acting like a strong, like concerned leader. But I certainly don't go home or wake up or come to work thinking, man, so many mistakes. It feels kind of like free to play. You know what I'm saying?
Compared to King of Avalon, we're not making that many
Yeah,
mistakes.
it feels kind of like free to play, right? Like, and even the game design, there's things I wish I would have thought of sooner. On just documents I wish I would have had, But if you're working with somebody and you're like, okay, let's figure out this feature. Let's just call it like a daily login. It's a complicated feature. You're like, okay, how many is going to be there? Like, it's going to be 7 days, it's going to be a 15 days, it's going to be a 30-day login. How many days? How much stuff do we have to make worthwhile? What are our best items? How long does it take for an artist to make one of those items? Do we have enough people to make that item? Okay, let's just get the feature started so the engineer can make it. It just unlocks stuff for a couple of days. And it's used by a tool. Wait a second. We don't have a backend engineer. Can't make the tool. I guess we'll make a pop-up. Pop-up that has 15 days or whatever. And then you're thinking, Jesus Christ, you make the document, you look at it, and you go, this whole thing's a mistake. I guess we'll just have to backlog certain things, So it just feels imperfect like the whole time. Because you're like, fuck, to make just a daily login, I would need to call an art meeting, measure out all our cosmetics, try to figure out the economy to build value, build a tool, like to do a super fine job on that thing. You're like, man, I suck. Like, this is a lot for just this little thing. And so, it ends up, you just move, and, you get features that have UI that are okay, and it's going to go through iteration. And I just hope to soon be really well-rounded in our deliveries. I would feel much better in the next couple months if we were like super well-rounded in our deliveries, where we're like operating the game as a live service, even though like I want to see sales in our game, during prototypes. I want this thing to feel like it's a like it's an operating free-to-play game. You know what I mean? And so I think that's a feeling. I want to be further along, but I think.
That's the future. We can actually talk about like what we are expecting in coming months, because now we have a clearer roadmap and clearer budget, which we have allocated for the game.
Sure.
And now we have to be more serious than before, because this is the runway, right? And as of now, we are not thinking of raising another round or whatever. Like we have set a milestone and we want to achieve it. So every decision we take now is going to be it has to be time bound, right? We cannot now we cannot sleep basically.
Nothing's going to change. I wrote down that we're stuck, like in some ways. And what I mean by that is I can't think of a feature that could be added that would be worth it to try to make it at this time. I'm like designed out of my mind. And so the rest is trying to make work what we have in mind. Swapping maybe some features for other ones and taking away, but there is no ad. There's no more ad. You know what I'm saying? This company has no ad on it. You can't just like add a feature to it. And so we are, we have a roadmap. It's meticulously broken down, and there's nothing new going on it that I'm aware of. Joseph did talk about some crazy ideas the other day. Actually, we should talk to you about. I gotta take that back because he was talking about some crazy end of match ideas. Like, what if at the end of the match this crazy thing happens? And I was like, that's so cool, but it sounds so expensive. But yeah, we are headed in a direction, and it is documented highly in like ClickUp, spreadsheets, mural boards, product. Everyone, they know it. The design team knows it. If I were to, I don't want to do all hands like, hey, everybody, we got this feature. Nah, it's like we need to get our features done right now. So.
All right, well, we've been talking for a little while. Maybe to wrap, just in short, what are you looking forward to the most in the future?
The playable build.
Playable build?
Yeah, as soon as possible, we can hand it over to people. They can get the feel of our game. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Establish art style and a core loop that can be criticized.
Okay. Yeah, I think for me, I feel like structurally, we have so many advantages that if we can survive in the long term, that we're just going to gain so much advantage. So for me, the thing I'm looking forward to the most is just being literally 1 cent profitable, because the moment that we're profitable and we can sustain this business, then we're just going to continue to build long-term competitive advantage. And then I think from there, we'll then become unstoppable.
I feel like that's pretty easy. Yeah, I feel like if I'm right about the game design, I know I'm not great at costs, like all the things that we're going to be spending, chat services, push notifications, server costs, all that stuff, and then user acquisition, all that stuff. If that stuff's wrong, then we really just gonna. But I feel like we're gonna make it. I feel like we're gonna make it.
Yeah, me too. I think now we'll have to work harder than before, because as I said, like, we cannot miss now, because we have a runway, we have a date where we have to ship the game, and one of the unexpected times is like once you have everything working, then actually it also takes more time. The polish, the feel, that's where once you reach there, that's
the
where
last
another
10% takes a long time.
Takes a long time. And that's a decider also, because that will also tell us like what kind of shooter game are we.
Sure.
Because then you have your game, other games, like, okay. Yeah. So.
Nicely done.
All right. Well, I think there we have it.
That was fun.
Hopefully-
Let's do this again. Yeah.
Yeah, we should we should just talk about things,
Yeah, I like it. It's fun. Okay.
All right. That's it. Bye, everybody.
Thank you so
Bye,
much.
everyone.